Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the Maize and Blue Reviews Afternoon Live. I'm Dennis Fithian. We're here weekdays at 1 o'clock. We're a part of Rivals.com talking about the latest in Michigan sports. You say, wait a second, it's the off season. There's nothing going on in Michigan sports. It's changed. It's changed over the last 5 or 10 years. Things are always going on right now. It used to be that way where you'd get to the off season. You're like, man, we got a long time to go to the next season. But in sports now, in some sports, the off season is just as entertaining, certainly as much to talk about than when the regular season is going on. So we'll get to some of that. One of those sports that likes a lot of off season, I'd say drama, has a Michigan figure front and center. That's what we're going to start out on. And, with Michigan football is king. And here in the state of Michigan, across the country, everybody loves football. I love football. You love football. We're going to talk some Michigan football. We're going to look at the safety position today. And so we'll get to that coming up in, probably like 5 minutes from right now. But we'll start out with that news. It was the last day of the regular season in the NBA yesterday. And as we sit here on the 11th of April, just after 1 o'clock, there's I would say the rumors, but now there is a report from ESPN saying that the head coach of the Lakers, Frank Vogel, to his surprise, or maybe it's news to him, he hasn't been told yet, but Frank Vogel is out as the Lakers coach. And, this has been a rumor for a couple of days that Vogel has been out. I saw a quote from him yesterday saying, nobody's told me blank. And, but Wojnarowski today reporting that, he is expected to be ousted. And then so you're going to have people speculate on who would be a potential replacement for Frank Vogel out there in LA, and none other than Juwan Howard, the head coach at Michigan. His name popped up immediately about, I don't know, you call it a package deal with Rajon Rondo, or, just separate saying, hey, Howard is coming in. But the likelihood that Juwan Howard would be the next Laker coach, you think about that for a second. I put the reports up on the screen so we can take a look at it and digest it a little bit. It started out with an NBA Central, which almost has 500,000 followers on Twitter. They handle anything NBA related. They've got it here. And so when they say a report has Rajon Rondo joining Lakers assistant as an assistant coach under Juwan Howard, if Michigan coach gets quote unquote pried away from the program, and then they have a link to the report, Rondo, and that link is heavy.com, something I'd never heard of previous to this weekend. Heavy.com. If you look at the front page of Heavy Sports, Heavy Sports is your go-to source for news, rumors, and roster moves around the NFL, NBA, UFC, and more. So you knew that, you just added up really quick. You knew that it was likely that Vogel was going to be out with the Lakers. So somebody at Heavy.com, oh, hey, LeBron, when he was with Miami, he just stayed in touch. He likes Juwan Howard. Rob Pelinka is the GM who played with Juwan Howard when he was at Michigan. So there's some connection there really quick. And you're just, okay, hey, what about Juwan Howard? Let's put his name and then, add in Rondo. And here we go. We've got some news. We've got a rumor, and it's circulated out there. Now, you're a Michigan fan, but ridiculous, but these are how things go. And in the NBA, you need to have reports. You need to have, or I'm sorry, you need to, somebody's going to put together a list of potential replacements for Vogel. So, why not Juwan putting his name in there? That makes sense. Somebody coming up with a list and saying, hey, why not Juwan Howard? Now, does it make sense that Juwan Howard would leave Michigan and go to the NBA? I would say probably not, but heck, I would have never have thought John Beeline would have left to go, even though he said, hey, I was interested in the Pistons. And then the next year he went to Cleveland. So you never say never. And you realize that the whoever was over there at heavy.com just, putting together a list, and then it got picked up. But then you say the likelihood. There's a couple reasons that I think Juwan Howard will stay at Michigan. And they talk about the possibility of him going to the NBA, whether it would be for the Lakers or another job. Jace Howard is on the Michigan roster, and he's going to be a junior next year. And Juwan's other son, Jet, is coming in this year. He's a 4-star. He's going to come in with another 3 players. Michigan has 4 players coming in this year. Jet Howard, Greg Glenn, Terrace Reed, and Doug McDaniel. And you have Jet Howard, who's a top 40 overall prospect by Rivals, rated number 38. So he's going to have both of his sons. Fran McCaffrey over at Iowa had his 2 sons. Remember, after winning the Big Ten tournament, Fran was there courtside. He mentioned, the being able to coach my sons. That was it was a big deal to him. I haven't talked specifically. I actually haven't heard Juwan specifically asked what it's going to mean to have both of his sons there and him be on the sideline and that dynamic. He has talked in about Jace and all the things he has said. It's positive and going through all that. But I would think at least one crack at it. Talking about coaching your sons just to see what that would be like. And we could sit around and come up with all kinds of hypotheticals and wouldn't you like this? And I'll do that for a second. Wouldn't you, if you played professional basketball your whole life, or you coached basketball, you make great money. That's one thing. But the other part is you do miss a lot of your family life at home. Remember Tom Izzo, he took his kid as a walk-on who didn't deserve, to be a walk-on. Tom Izzo didn't care. He said, look, given my life basically to Michigan State. Yeah, he's made, he's rich and famous. But, he was also like, I don't care if he deserves it or not, essentially is what he said. He's like, I'm doing it because I want to be around my son. I haven't been able to do that. So I think, when we talk about Juwan Howard, I get that part. Now, that's one thing. So, to have a chance to coach your kids, and he has just been at Michigan 3 years now. So that's it. Now, some of the reasons that he could go, he said the Lakers. I mean, this is one of the top 3. They might be, maybe say the Celtics. It's either Celtics or the Lakers. Are they, the franchise in the NBA? This is one of the most recognizable place, one of the most recognizable franchises in all of sports. So there is that part. I mean, it is the Lakers. So if the Lakers are actually interested in you, whoever you are or wherever you're at, I would listen to what the Lakers had to say. Wouldn't you? Even if you had your kids, everything else. But then you get to the Lakers situation. They do have LeBron James. They do have AD, street clothes, Anthony Davis. They also got a guy like Russell Westbrook, who they brought in, was one of the reasons that everything fell apart and this team ended up not getting into even the play-in game, along with street clothes and LeBron a little bit. But they got to pay $47 million to Westbrook. You just look at the would you want to be the head coach of the Lakers next year, where any of number of things could be going on there, and this was a team that couldn't put it together to even make the play-in. It's not, even though it is the Lakers, it's not ideal, to be going to the Lake Show right now. But what could be some of the others? And you could say maybe these would be reaches and why you might think about going to the NBA. If you're Juwan Howard, he had his 2 instances over the last 2 years, the smacks and everything else. And he may say, I've got such a short leash in college basketball, I look at somebody wrong, they might be ready to get rid of me. I don't think Michigan, but certainly if he had another episode like he had it, against Maryland in the Big Ten tournament or up at Wisconsin, that I think would be a strike 3, and I think he would be out. So he might be like, I don't want to have to. I want to be myself. I don't want to walk on eggshells. So maybe I would go to the NBA, have a shot. It is the Lakers. LeBron is still there, even though he might want out. So it could be attractive from that standpoint. I don't know. I don't know if anybody here watching. I don't know. People that say they know Juwan the best. I don't know if they've even asked him that question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked Juwan that question. Like, Juwan, we know what has happened the last 2 years. Like, do you feel? And he could. So I mean, you make things up, and I think because it's the Lakers and LeBron is still there, and it is professional basketball, like, and a dream for Juwan Howard. There's just a little possibility, even though this is a rumor, even though it's a report rumor. I know a lot of other people automatically like, I am not considering this at all. I'm only considering just a smidge because it is the Lakers. It is the Lakers, and LeBron still is there. And I don't 100% know the situation with Juwan and just how he feels about his 2 incidents that he had with the slap and then the runaround against Maryland. I know a lot of Michigan people are tired of hearing about that, but let's just explore this. Like, I'm exploring it for a second. People are going to continue to explore and talk about Juwan and that situation all off season, and every basketball game that Michigan is going to play next year, Juwan Howard's name is going to be mentioned. Like, and you got to remember last year he's suspended for the last 5 games, and this was his second. And these are broadcasters that are not necessarily against Michigan. And then you think about the people that are against Michigan, they'll be talking about it, all the time. And I know Michigan people, like, they've already told me, like, we're tired of hearing about that. Well, it's just starting. That's something that's going to stay with Juwan Howard when, the next time, really, the reporters as a whole, there might be some local or hand-picked interviews and things for that Juwan would do. And you don't really have to ask him about that. Maybe you don't want to do that to ruffle any feathers or anything else. But when he goes to Chicago to the coaches meetings and the media is there, I will guarantee you that how many ever reporters are there, he is going to get, peppered with those questions. Did you learn anything? What did you think of it? Is this going to affect you moving forward? How has it affected you? And then, like I said, anytime that Michigan, and they're on TV every game, at some point, you're going to hear it and you will be tired of it. But you remember that a lot of times, the broadcasters, they're giving background. They're going to say it every game. So maybe Juwan is tired of that and he wants to get away from that. He doesn't want to hear every time that a group of reporters gets together where, they have access to Big Ten coaches. He doesn't want to answer that question anymore. He wants to get away from that. Well, he could. There is a chance there. You can, whether you want to, whatever you want to do with that is fine. You don't like it, you don't want to hear it, it's no factor. It could be a little bit of a factor. It's just something to think about for you. Let's get the feedback rolling here. Always an opportunity for you to join in as the show is going on, like Jason, who uses the feedback and says, LeBron may be a great guy, yet his team cancer has been for the past 5 years. No way Juwan leaves Michigan with his sons at Michigan. Come on. I'm not making the case that he is going to leave, Jason. I'm saying just to, think about it for just if you're going to entertain it. I'm with you. If you're asking me to make a prediction, I say Juwan is going to stay at Michigan because it is just going into his 4th year. He has done a good job. He's done a good job recruiting. He looks like he likes it at Michigan. I think his wife likes it at Michigan. And your point there, I think is a gigantic one. Both of his sons will be on the Michigan basketball team next year. So I'm with you. I am just looking at the small chance and why he might even look and entertain the possibility. Again, it is the Los Angeles Lakers. This isn't Oklahoma City that's calling up on line one. This is the franchise in the NBA. So you listen automatically. The thing about LeBron, you can call him team cancer. It actually, it didn't work out for him this past year, and he had a lot to do with that because of his agency, Clutch, and Rich Paul and everything that they do in the background to orchestrate, who's going to be on the team and who's going to be the coach and everything like that. And, that's been going on as long as professional sports has been going on with the agents meddling. But, Clutch is right there front and center behind the scenes, orchestrating and, seeing who's going where. But, I don't know about LeBron. I don't know if LeBron is a great guy. And the part about being the team cancer, everywhere he's gone, he's won a championship. So from that standpoint, I don't know, is that really being a team cancer? I actually haven't heard many of his former teammates coming out saying, "Oh, I hate LeBron. He's a team cancer." He goes and wins a championship, and then it's hard to continue to be dominant and stay on the mountaintop. He won one with the Lakers. It did all fall apart. He's getting closer to 40 years old. So this is not like 30-year-old LeBron or anything anymore. LeBron's a great player. The only better player ever in the history of the NBA was Michael Jordan. So you've got the second greatest player of all time, but where he is terrible is that he appears to be a terrible general manager, and he is not very good at picking head coaches. So when it came down to those two things, him picking a head coach or LeBron, saying that he wanted to play with, somebody in his agency, or this is a player that he wants to play with, and be like, you know what, LeBron, you swing and miss an awful lot when it comes down to players. I think those are fair criticisms. I wouldn't say cancer. I wouldn't. But this is 100% media driven. Well, yeah, things are going to be media driven. Like I said, when you have when you have the Lakers, the Lakers are a drama show that is, and LeBron's a drama show. When you have the top player in the league and you have the top franchise in the league and they're ousting their coach and they didn't make the playoffs, this is going to make, what I said at the beginning, when there's some leagues, and the NBA is, right up there at the top. I'm looking forward to the play-in games this week and the NBA playoffs. I enjoy it. But the NBA, whenever they win the championship sometime in June, whoever wins it, I think it's going to be Milwaukee. Whenever that's done, there's just as much attention on, now what LeBron's going to do? Who's opting out? What about... There's as much interest in the offseason. In the NFL, it's great during the season. It's great in the offseason. They've got it all year round. It's 365. The NBA is like that. So, yeah, it's media-driven. Why does the media bring up things about the LA Lakers? Because there's an insatiable appetite for rumors and for basketball fans. They love it. No, we don't want Juwan Howard. Rajon Rondo's an idiot. Let's get this guy. Let's make Rich Paul the head coach. So yeah, I don't think it was LeBron's agent, calling heavy.com saying, "Hey, could you add me on the list?" He's on the list. So you deal with it, you talk about it, and you go there. Putting things out like you're 100% sure that, he would never go or entertain. That's the only part I disagree with. Because it's the Lakers, I think he 100% takes the call to listen to Pelinka, who probably has already texted him, "Hey, any chance?" And, maybe Juwan has already said no. And he's like, "What about, and if he comes back with something?" He probably already entertained that. So there could be already Pelinka could have reached out. So you almost always say never, but in this situation, because it is, again, I'll repeat it one last time, because it is the Lakers. You're going to be Juwan Howard. You 100% do listen when they call. That's not hey, we got the Orlando Magic, on the other end of the line. It's the Los Angeles freaking Lakers, Jason. Come on. Let's give you one more crack at it. You got the feedback. I like Jason. He's somebody who has used the feedback button before. Here he is. Jason saying they didn't make the playoffs. Warriors made it with all the injuries this year to the Stars. Lakers isn't even a top 10 head coaching job, in my opinion. Well, if you're talking about top 10 teams in the NBA, you're right. But factoring in the franchise, I think that's going to be the crux of everything. If you are Juwan and you just sit back and you think about it for a second, like, hey, my kids can still play basketball. Would I want to go be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? And Russell Westbrook, we owe him $47 million. They don't have a draft pick, for a couple of years. Like, I don't even know if they have a second-round draft pick. They have just emptied the vault. So what they have is the team that they had this year, and Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. What's more than likely going to happen, Jason, and I think this is what, if Juwan called me and said, hey, what do you think, man? It's the Lakers. I'd say, yeah, Juwan, you would get, I think, one kick at the can next year, and you need Anthony Davis to stay healthy. You need LeBron to stay healthy. Maybe those two things can happen. Maybe. But you look at the supporting cast there. You got to pay Westbrook damn near $50 million. What's more than likely to happen is that LeBron doesn't get this extension coming up. They try to trade him to get something for him. They have the $47 million, so they can think about maybe going after a free agent or something there. LeBron's likely not going to want to stay around after next year. So would you do it for 1 year? Probably not. More than likely not. 90%, not. I'll put it at 5%. But there is that 5%, like, one kick at the can, LA. Let's go. Chance to coach in the NBA. And, oh, yeah, I don't have to worry about, I can just be myself. College basketball might not be, like, he might think this way. Again, this is just all, conjecture. In the pros, you don't have to deal with, you get nobody cares if you push somebody around or slap somebody. It's the NBA. Nobody say two words about it. Even though they don't go around, slapping assistants in the NBA either. But, Juwan just might want to get away from that. A chance. Again, very small, 5%. But when you tune in to somebody or read somebody that's giving you oh, my God, why are we going through this again? It's the Lakers, buddy. It's LeBron James. It's the NBA. So there's some things there. That's how I am looking at it. All right, we got a couple of things to get to. Staying with the basketball theme and Juwan Howard. A week ago or so, there was this video that was put up. Michigan has a commitment for the 2024 class, and his name is Christian Anderson Jr., and he is a 5'8" point guard from Atlanta, Georgia. Now, 5'8" point guard. Whoa, that's pretty small. Well, that's when he was a sophomore. And maybe he's a little bit taller than that now. I think his dad is bigger. I would say, I think his dad might be 6'5". I'm going off my memory of talking with somebody about Anderson, but they put together a little video of him shooting threes. He made 92 out of 100. Let's just look at it.
Who is walking in the gym trying to make 100 threes in a row?
He looks taller than 5'9" already. Just taking a look at him.
I spoke to some of my buddies that are scouts, and they said that they think that he could become the best shooter in his entire class in the nation.
The number one scoring sophomore in the nation, 30 points a game. He made 92 out of 100. You guys ain't working hard like you think you are. Well, at least you ain't on that level.
All right. There he is, 92 out of 100. He's something to take a look at it there. Remember the name. You're a Michigan fan. Not for this upcoming recruiting class that's coming in with Jet Howard, Juwan's youngest son, is the 2022 class. Then there's the 2023 class. Now we're talking about the 2024 class. So just a sophomore. So what is he a junior then? Is that where we're at? All right. Jason's familiar with him. Athletic, averaging 30 points a game. I like him. It sounds good to me, Jason. I hope that I hope that he gets to 6 feet tall by the time he's a freshman. Heck, I think I grew an inch every year in high school. And so if 5'8" is a sophomore, 5'9" is a junior, 5'10" is a senior, maybe, have those little growth spurt. Heck, he could be 6'2" by the time he comes to Michigan. So yeah, some video there of Christian Anderson, and you like to see it. 92 out of 100. Amazing, actually, of what's going on there. Jason familiar with him, and he's down from Hotlanta. There you go, Jason. I like it. All right, we have a more here. We wanted to look to football, and for that, we're going to look at the safeties here. We're going to look at the safeties for Michigan. I have the scholarship chart up for the Wolverines, and taking a look at it, Quentin Johnson, who you've seen a little bit of Johnson here at in Ann Arbor in the spring game. Jim Scarcelli, who joins me on Thursday, he mentioned that he liked what he saw in the spring game from Quentin Johnson. I did not see him jump off on the tape there when I was reviewing it, but he did mention him. I went through and watched the first couple series a week or two ago of the Orange Bowl. And in the first series, I noticed that R.J. Moten was out there as a safety for Michigan. Rod Moore, who did not participate in spring, going through had a surgery and coming back out, wore number 19, was not in for spring, and yet played a lot for U of M, started some games there. So you almost feel like Rod Moore, even Michigan, even though when you talk about Michigan and their defense, yeah, sure, you're gonna say Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo, because those guys would have been, if Ajabo didn't tear his Achilles, could have been in the number 1 overall pick and maybe a top 10, top 15, but they still might have 2 first-round picks that go. But, Dax Hill and Brad Hawkins, those 2 starting safeties in there. And heck, Dax Hill could work himself into the first round as well. So it's an important position, but, when you just look, you think Rod Moore and R.J. Moten, they're not totally coming in where you're like, wow, man, these guys, they really haven't proven themselves. They have played. Now that they're the guys and a lot's got to be counted on them, sure, it's a jump up, but there it is with Moore and with Moten. And then they've got 4 guys. Who knows if all 4 of these guys will stay at safety? Like, I think Cody Jones or Zeke Berry, I think either of these guys you could talk about being nickel DBs or even be corners. Sabb could be Keon Sabb, who did participate and was in for spring and did play late in the spring game. Big kid, rangy, originally committed to Clemson. He could play linebacker, but he's got some versatility. Remember from Clemson, Isaiah Simmons, who was drafted by the Cardinals? No, I'm not saying that Keon Sabb is the next Simmons. I'm saying that he's a big, rangy guy like Simmons, and like Simmons, who there's a safety linebacker component to him. The same thing with Keon Sabb. And it would not be a surprise to see Keon Sabb somehow getting into the 2 deep behind Moten and Moore. You got Page and Moran and Johnson, 3 other guys there who could find themselves, getting some PT immediately as well. And that's why when I put together a 2 deep, I went with Moore and Page, and then I put Caden Coldazar in the mix there as well with R.J. Moulton, Quentin Johnson, Jordan Morant, and then the freshman, as mentioned, Barry, Sabb, and Dent, with the most likely being Sabb getting on the field. He was in for spring, the most highly thought of in recruiting circles. I base it on that in terms of when we might see those guys getting on the field or not. All right. One final point is that unfortunately, we didn't have the championship game of NCAA hockey on Saturday, as Michigan was ousted in overtime on Thursday. You know all of that. We've already found out there's a couple Wolverines that are already on to the pros, which is expected when they had 7 former number 1 draft picks. But there was also a question that their MOP of the Big Ten tournament, would he be around? And the question was answered this week that Eric Portillo is returning to Michigan, the Wolverines netminder. You see that's more than a picture. However, they made that a graphic of Portillo. It looks pretty cool. See the Maize and Blue review there. Portillo announced that he is coming back for another season in the Maize and Blue, and that is good. All right. There it is. So some good news for the Maize and Blue on the ice. Some good news if you like hearing about the Maize and Blue. We will be back tomorrow. And when you talk about Michigan football recruiting, I noticed a little bit over the weekend as I was just browsing through, as I was watching the Masters, had my Twitter feed up. I saw somebody complaining about Michigan football recruiting. Like, where are all these great recruits? Why isn't Michigan pulling in all these 5-stars? Where are the 4-stars? What's going on with recruiting? And there were a few people underneath like, yeah, how come they're not doing better? Why? I'll answer the question tomorrow. I'll pose it. Why isn't? Why isn't Michigan doing better in recruiting right now? And is there anything to worry about when it comes down to that? We'll address that tomorrow here on Afternoon Live. Thanks for watching. Jason on the feedback there. We're here every day at 1 o'clock. Everybody, it is beautiful outside the studios here. 70 degrees. You kidding me? Take advantage. I'm going to take advantage of it. Everybody have a great rest of the Monday. See you later. Bye.